Hello everybody, how you doing? Hope everybody's doing fine, I really do. And we're going to get into this video here in just one little second. Hope you like the new intro, and this is what we're going to use from now on. So much love, fasten your seatbelt, and let's get her going.
Hello everybody. Hey, really quick, I just woke up. It is 1:36 p.m. Central Time on the 14th of July 2019. Guys, my videos have been blocked on YouTube now. I was wondering what was going on. I was like, okay, maybe people just, didn't get the notice or something. My most recent videos since yesterday have been blocked off YouTube search again. So we dropped down to 30,000 views per video or something. We were like up in the hundreds of thousands, doing really well. Everybody's congratulating me on doing well. And then I look and I'm like, what the heck's going on? 10,000 views on the video all night on the biggest earthquake to hit Australia? Well, I went over to my community page on YouTube and just shared my videos last night. And I noticed something. I was like, wait, nobody's commenting. Nobody's leaving any thumbs. What's going on? Then I went and shared somebody else's stuff, and it went right through. And I was like, whoa, wait a second, hold on. I just shared somebody else's video, so I just made a text post, and I typed it out. I said, hey, everybody, I think I'm getting censored here. If I attached my video, it's not sharing it. But if I just type something and just say words, well, it goes through. Isn't that weird? And everybody's like, huh? Like, I posted this last night. I go, compare. I go, I'm just going to make a text post here, and then I'll make another post right after this, share my videos. Well, here we are this morning. There's just hundreds of people over there now. They're all like, whoa, whoa, I see what you're saying. We just caught them, boys. We got them, man. We caught them red-handed, censoring my videos from search on my own page now. They said they wouldn't do that. YouTube said that they were just going to do that, through the YouTube algorithm and stuff. But no. They are actively going to my own page now and stopping me from sharing videos on my own community tab. You want to talk about desperate. I wonder what that phone call was like. Oh, this is Professor so-and-so from such and such, and we've got a real problem with Dutchsinse. And then they're like, oh, yes, we're big social justice warriors over here. We make sure that the government gets properly treated right. No, well, we're going to need you to take down that Dutchsinse. Well, if we take him down, he's going to make a big stink about it. So what we'll do is we'll just put a little tricky algorithm on it and make sure that he can't get seen by anybody. Oh, yes, that's a very good idea. I'm a very good professor, and I'm right about this. By the way, Dutchsinse, blah, 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 blah. Okay, all right, yeah, you have a good day. Well, you can send your check over to me, and I'll get payment. You can send it to my private checking account. Okay, all right, that's going to be paid for by the government. That's what's going on. Like it matters to me anymore. Jeez, man, if I need something, I'll sell a t-shirt. I just thought I'd tell you guys. That is hilarious. Go look at my videos. Over the last day, it goes from 100,000 down to 30,000. And it's like, whoa, that's the huge step down. And then I go over to my community page. There's like 2 comments on my last video. I'm like, 2 comments out of 340,000 people? 40,000 people have signed up in the last 4 days to get my updates, guys. 40,000 have signed up just in the last 5 days. And I'm not bragging, I'm just saying, so I put out a video and it gets 10,000 views? What? Okay, that on the biggest earthquake to strike in God knows how long, back-to-back, Australia and Indonesia, 2 back-to-back 7.0 plus earthquakes. And they block it. Oh no, hey, you know what? Maybe there are other shill channels on YouTube haven't covered it fully yet, and they need to put the brakes on me so that, the big solar can come in there and take over. I guess maybe he needs to sell some more apps. Yeah, we got a call from Big Solar over here, this Big Solar channel, and he said that he doesn't like you, and, he's got a big pull here, and well, we need to shut you down. He's got a real problem with you. That's what it is. He's our baby. We have to watch out for our children here on YouTube. That means Dutchsinse, who's not in a big network or anything, you're going to take a step to the side while we look out for our little children channels. The shill channels that pump information all across YouTube. Well, I stepped in the way. I'm not in any multi-channel network, so of course I'm not going to get, I'm going to get picked on because I haven't joined a big group that takes half your money to promote you. I'm promoting myself and doing a better job than most of their promoted channels. So what do? Shut them down. That's the way it goes, guys. You got to play the game. You got to give them half your money. Now this is what YouTube does. YouTube says it's okay, you could be Joe Schmo and do well. What they really do is punish you if you don't join a network where they get to take half of it back. Right? So they're like, well, we're going to need 40% of your profit here. That's what they charge, 40% of what you make every month. We're going to need 40% of your profit here. And for that, we'll promote you and make sure that you're reaching tens of thousands of people. We'll make sure that you're getting out to all your subscribers. And we've got some staff here to support you if you need any help with copyright claims. And for that, it's going to cost you 40% of your monthly profit. And we'll promote you. And then I look back and I'm like, what do I need you guys for? I can do a better job on myself. And they're like, shut down. Why would I need to join you guys? I can promote myself all day long and just sit here on Twitter and Facebook. And what do I need to pay you 40% for? They go, don't ask any questions, Dutch. So that's the difference between successful channels and not successful channels. They blocked me. All this blow up that happened on my channel over the past week happened in the face of their censorship. They've removed me out of search from YouTube. If you go to YouTube and you type in Dutchsinse, well, you'll get Copper Tropicals videos. You'll get one link to my channel, and my 2,600 plus videos do not come up. Other people's videos do. Mine don't. Oh, man, I'll tell you what. I knew something like this would probably happen at some point the next few days just because I went so big in the past week. It just had to blow away their algorithm. It was just too much traffic. With the censorship, I even was going into the hundreds of thousands. Without the censorship, it would have been millions. So, all right, man. Wow, what a way to wake up. But go over to the community page, check that out. Earthquake-wise, well, I'm not even going to talk about earthquakes. I've got 2 updates over on my channel that are blocked. Why would I get on and talk more earthquakes if everything that I'm going to do now is going to be blocked because they're upset that I'm getting too many views? Have you ever heard of such a thing? Well, we're upset you're getting too many views. We're going to have to shut you down. Oh, man, this is such a messed up world with a bunch of freaks in charge. See you guys in a little bit. I'm going to get some coffee. Peace out. Hey, everybody. Dutchsinse here. It is 4:22 a.m. Central Time, doing a voice check before we get going, just to check in, make sure that we sound okay. We've got ourselves a very serious situation going on, and just let me know in chat if we do sound okay. We have a new 7.0, 7.2 earthquake that just struck in the West Pacific on top of our event that just struck down off the coast of Australia. So if you're not aware, there's been a big development. Let me go ahead and turn on a display capture and show you the new earthquake. So here's our new 7.0, 7.2 earthquake striking in an area called Halmahera, Indonesia, or Halmahera, Indonesia. I can't pronounce it, but we'll get the stats on this just so you can see from the Europeans. Halmahera, Indonesia. Now they have it now at 6.9. This is going to go up and down, guys. We have a large event that's taking place currently right now in the last hour and a half, 2 hours. They've upgraded the earthquake over here at Australia's coast. Largest earthquake in years to strike off the coast of Australia. That's a 6.7 that struck. Let's get the time on this. That struck at 5:39 UTC. This new 7.0 earthquake just struck at 9:10 UTC. They just brought it down to 6.9. That's going to bounce back up and down. You'll hear dings of bells. The dings of the bells are equal to the size of the earthquakes. Really what I want you to take away from this 6.7 was a 7 to start out. And this was a 7 to start out. So whether they do a few points downgrade is irrelevant. We're talking about two 7s here, striking within a few hours of each other. Again, this 6.7 striking at 5:39 UTC. This one striking at 9:10 UTC. In other words, about 4 hours apart at the most. And this is major movement for the West Pacific, and I'm talking big time. The Europeans are reporting in at 6.9. I can tell you this. The USGS will probably be bringing it in at 7.1. Let's go over and look at our seismologist study page and see what we have reported by Geophone Potsdam. Yeah, they've got it at 7.2. Geophone Potsdam, we trust, of course. Going down local magnitude list, they do have a lot of local magnitudes listed. We're going as high as 7.5. I would toss that out. We always toss out the high end. Let's see if there's anything bigger than 7.5 being reported. 7.6, okay, we're going to toss that out. Anything higher than that, though? Okay, so we're looking at a 7 to 7.1 earthquake, and you're probably going to hear this ding as they take this back up into a 7.0 range. It's a big event that's taking place. Now, we need to measure our distance from where the new earthquake is in Indonesia down here to the south to where the other 7 was, or 6.97, whatever, between these 2 points, and see how far of a distance it is that moved. Now, let me just take you back 2 days. See these earthquakes that are raised high off the globe here? Let's get all the other earthquakes out of there. So you see these 2 deep 6s. The higher these are off the planet, the deeper they are down into the Earth. So we're talking about 2 deep events down below the plate. This one at an approximate depth of 495 kilometers. This one up here at about 200 something. So we're dealing in an area called the asthenosphere down below the plate in the magma. When these 2 struck, I told everybody to be watching right over here. We told, again, all the world how to do this. We put out directions how to forecast an earthquake. I put out a full video hour long just on July 4th even explaining the detailed processes, the method. If you want to copy and start to repeat the method is now out there. So here we are. We have our 2 events striking back-to-back within 4 hours. Both are in the near 7 range. And again, we've already looked up the magnitudes on this. This is a 7. They did a weird downgrade, or they're even doing maybe even I would say even shaving off a few numbers. But we're talking about really what this is. 7 here, 7 here. And that follows the 7 over in California, which was the largest in decades. And this is the now 6th 7 that is struck in the last 30 days. Now, they've taken 3 of those down to 6.9s. If you go search, just so in case you want to go look 6.9 and greater over the last 30 days, and you're going to find them. So this is number 6 to strike in the last 30 days, 7.0 range. This is a big event. Now, 6.0 and greater earthquakes that struck over the last 30 days, this now makes 27. 27 different 6.0 and greater earthquakes in the last 30 days. Normally, there's 2 to 3 a week, which would put us at 12 a month on average. So we're more than double the average of 6.0 and greater. So the magnitudes have definitely crept up this past month, and it's all based upon these deep earthquakes. These deep earthquakes are like a triangulation point between where our new 2 7s or 6 upper 6s have struck. Now also, we have volcanoes that are erupting right through here. Mount Semeru has been erupting right here where the 2 sets of rings overlap. And over to the west, Mount Kerinci has been erupting here. Also, Mount Krakatau erupted this week. We go over here, we have Mount Ibu and Mount Dukono that were both simultaneously erupting. We jump over here and Mount Manama was erupting just in the past few days. We go back 2 weeks, the biggest volcanic blast that I've ever had to report on, 63,000 foot high blast, happened right here over at Ulawan volcano, which is right here on the tip of eastern Papua New Guinea. This is the largest earthquake to strike at Australia in a couple years' time, and we have the largest earthquake in Southern California in 2 decades, all in the same week. So we can't ignore it. 27 different deep earthquakes. We were at 26, now we're at 27. 27 different big earthquakes, and that's 6.0 and greater in the last 30 days. And this now makes 6 different 7s, and they took a few of them down to 6.9. And there's some conspiracy talk on that online about why they're doing that. I don't want to get into reasons why they're doing that. I think that there may be some sense to those talks online, that they're again, taking 7s and taking them down to 6.9s, for instance, to pad the numbers. They can't have 6 7s in a month. Why? Because they said this could never happen. So in order to make themselves right, they got to shave off a couple numbers. And also, again, for future generations, so anybody looking back won't see it. Oh, look, well, I spoke too soon. They brought it up to a 7.3. But then again, I know they're listening. So here we are. This may ding, this may not. They just changed the magnitude. Let's go look and see who changed it. USGS changed the magnitude to 7.3 from 6.9. They do have a tsunami thing going here. Let's go take a quick look at the tsunami advisories. All right, they have it as a link, but there's nothing really for us to see here. They're not putting out any kind of tsunami advisory. I don't blame them on that. Guys, I'm not here to dog the professionals too hard, but again, it's part of my online persona at this point. I've got to fulfill expectations. That's a joke. Okay, NDBC, NOAA. Let's go take a look. National Data Buoy Center. And we'll just search it on Google so you'll see what the main search. And I normally would click on either maps or buoys. So let's just click on buoys. There we go. So looking over here in the West Pacific, here's our buoy in event mode from the Australia event. But now this new event is striking up here. See where this is almost like an S shape? That's the plate boundary making a bend. No buoys in the most active seismic zone on the planet. We do have U.S. installations. Let's go over to Google Earth and show it to you on this way. Actually, let's get the coordinates first. That'll make it a little bit easier for looking up the epicenter. And again, I'm not here to dog the USGS too hard, but they did say that I should be arrested. They started it, Mom. Okay, let's go put the coordinates in. Yeah, go to your room, right? That's what you always hear. So here we are. Where are we? We're in the West Pacific, and here's our S-shaped bend. I'm going to turn off our volcanoes. And unfortunately, I'm here to tell you guys, when it strikes on land, and I am dismayed to see this striking on land, this is enough to cause some pretty widespread damage at any of the nearby towns. The only good news about this is it looks like within about 100 kilometers in each direction, we're dealing with just kind of sparse population. Still, there are small towns, though. That's rather unfortunate. Now, there most likely won't be any tsunami generated with this. Famous last words, right? But most likely there won't be any tsunami generated from this unless there's an undersea landslide. This is striking right along shore. Uplift that could happen would happen on land because we're a few miles inland, and any localized waves would only be in here. But that's not really helping much because anybody who's out here on one of these small atolls or even along the coast, even if it's a few foot high wave, that's a problem. So this is a big deal. The 7 point anything in West Pacific over in Indonesia or Papua New Guinea, the structures themselves, a lot of people aren't living in exactly the most earthquake-proof structures. So we're also talking about the potential of damage that could happen to people that live around the area. Again, the good news is it does look like it's somewhat sparsely populated. But looking at it this way, do you see this S-shaped bend? Now this goes up to the north, and it splits. Up here is Guam, where we have our U.S. military installations and so forth. Sorry, this is running so slow. This is a Google Earth thing, I guess. But we go back down and these two meet. Now let's go back to my globe here and turn off all the earthquakes. Or actually, we could leave this current 7 on. Get all the others out of there. There we go. So look which way our arrows point. We're right at the pinnacle point where we have two volcanoes that are erupting. That's Ibu and Dukono. Then we split in two directions, and then we meet back up on the coast of Japan. Well, we also go around the S-shaped bend this way, where we have our big arrows that take us over into Asia and over into Europe. This is going to spread both directions. This 7.3, or let's just call it a 7. That's more like what I think it is, 7.1. USGS now going over. I'm not going to complain, but I think it's in the 7-ish range, low 7. Whether it's a 7.1 or 7.3, this will get split in half. So half the energy should go to the north, and then get split in half again in these two directions. The other half should go in a single direction over to the west. But the good news about this is not a deep earthquake. This is a shallow earthquake up in the crust, right towards the top, right towards the surface. So any movement that it does do around this S-shaped bend here, this is the plate boundary, by the way, it's going to lose energy as it goes through the plate boundary. Let's open up a USGS earthquake again. Here, we'll open up the stats on this. Now I'm going to turn on the USGS tectonic plate boundary map. Now you'll see here, see how their lines are kind of disjointed and not connected? What they really should do, and somebody should get in here to map this to prove what I'm saying, but that going around this way and going through here, these all connect. It doesn't really show it very well on here, does it? Let's go back over and look on Google Earth. There we go. So like a flowing river. Think of this like a road or a water slide. Well, going right down across it and around, this is the way the force flows. It also, again, goes to the north and splits two ways. Now this gets equalized, or equalized pressure spreads across it, and we see roughly the same sized earthquake strike on one side that we do on the other. Then, both sides reaccumulate here off the coast of Japan. It's reflected in the arrows here. Also, from time to time, when we see large earthquakes up here that are big enough to displace off the coast of Japan, we see it happen conversely. It goes down to Taiwan and Izu Ridge, then it reaccumulates down here. That's why there's two sets of double arrows. There's only a few double arrows on the whole planet. Actually, I think is that one of the only spots? It is. We do have a double yellow arrow for mega quakes, like we saw in 2011. For those of you who don't know, the way I got my start, even doing any of this, series of unintentional discoveries. It's not like I ever intended to do any of this. But back in 2011, 2 days before the Japan megaquake on March 9th of 2011 was my first warning video. Now, I hadn't discovered anything about the fulcrum principles or deep earthquakes. We were just looking at swarms and trying to determine whether or not there was going to be any more activity. And a 7.2 earthquake had struck on March 9th, and it sent a small 2 to 3 foot tsunami, just very small, into the Tokyo Bay harbor. And everybody there ignored it pretty much. They're like, we're earthquake savvy, it's a 7, it's not that big of a deal. Well, an accompanying swarm of 5s also broke out with that and didn't stop. It was hammering away like the beat of a drum. So I made a video and I said, look, the 7.2 hit, but this thing's hammering away still. There's no way around it. Looks like we're going to get a larger earthquake than the 7.2. And I was called a fearmonger, and everybody was just saying, oh, you're just trying to get views. And this was on YouTube back when I only had a few hundred subscribers. And I was just telling people what I thought was going to be happening. Then 2 days later, lo and behold, on March 11th, that's when the big one hit, the 9. And it hit up along the coast where all those 5s were swarming that I told everybody to keep a watch on. So that's where I started with earthquake, quote-unquote, forecasting. And from there, we then made the discoveries on the deep earthquakes versus shallow earthquakes, which leads me to this. Why did we issue a warning for Indonesia to be on watch for larger earthquake activity? See, you have to go back to my warnings, and I'd hate to tell you to go watch my other videos, but you're going to have to go watch my other videos from yesterday and the day before, the last 2 days worth of videos, where I explain the deep earthquakes that happened that are raised high off the globe, the deep 6 here, and the deep 6 here. And what we told you was that we were going to go up another notch from where we were this past week. So if we were at 6s and mid-range 6s this past week, which is that's where we were pretty much, at least over here, now we're going to take a step up to mid-range 7s, and I even said possibly up towards 8.0. Well, here we are, we're at mid-range 7. That's a step up. So now we're dealing with the largest earthquake over in Indonesia in many months' time, and we're dealing with the largest earthquake in Southern California still in 20 years' time, both in the same week as now the largest earthquake to strike in Australia in a few years' time, and the largest earthquake to strike over at Yellowstone in a few months' time, and the largest earthquake to strike up in Quebec. By the way, I had to complain. We issued a public complaint over on Twitter, and within minutes of me issuing a public complaint, this earthquake appeared on the feed. You see it. This is on the edge of the North American craton. This is the Quebec quake that we warned you for. We warned you for an upper 3 to lower 4.0 earthquake, and the warning expired last night. And I told you all I was still going to watch for another day or two. Well, I'm glad I told you that, because here's the largest earthquake to strike in Quebec in God knows how long, and look where it is. It's right on the edge of the craton, right on the eastern edge of the North American craton. And the timestamps on these, let me just quickly show you. I know I'm taking time to show this to you because this confirms a big forecast for me, guys. So here, 1400, this to 1700, this is the whole North American plate getting displaced on a 4.0 basis in 3 hours' time. So that's happening in California. We have our biggest earthquake in Indonesia in the past several months, and we're following a bunch of big, deep earthquakes hammering in on the underside of the plate. Australia is dealing with their largest earthquake in a couple years' time, and we're not done yet. These deep earthquakes just happened yesterday. We have a 10-day watch from the point of yesterday, which I told you yesterday, 13th to the 23rd, and I said this week was going to be just incredibly crazy. Well, here we are. Now it has gone incredibly through the roof in the West Pacific. It's a big deal. Now, I would like to go quickly check one more time the National Data Buoy Center, just see if any of these buoys are now registering anything. We'll just back this out. And, of course, we still have our buoying event mode. That'll show for the next 24 hours. Here off the coast of Australia, it was about a 3-inch displacement, so not that big a movement. We don't have any in event mode right now. Hold on. Oh. Glad I refreshed. Look, we've got ourselves a buoy in event mode. Hold on. One moment. Let's see what the event looks like. Wow, okay. So you can see this now. This is, first of all, let's take you back. Hold on. Here's what the event looks like on the greater scale of the last several days. So you can see the duration is a very small little red blip. We'll zoom in on the red blip, if you will, and you see this. We can zoom in further, and you see this. This is just a resolution. This is taking us in at a greater view of this. This is our water column height in meters. So we can measure this, 44.3446 up to 44.3451. So we're going up about a half inch, or no, I'm sorry. This is in meters. So we're going up a few inches. Okay, it's not that big. So luckily, this is not that big of motion up and down, at least not yet. So we're looking at least one detection, 2, 3, 4, 5 different detections here. These are wave heights, if you will. But this is tethered to the sea floor, so most likely this actually is shaking that's being, again, detected by the actual buoy. Because the buoy, let's get this in perspective. The distance of the buoy, here's our 7.3 earthquake. You see where it is. Again, it's right on that little island west of Papua New Guinea. And let's go back and look at our map. So it's on the little island over here, and the buoy's all the way over here. Now, the wave, a physical, actual tsunami wave, would be traveling at the speed of a jetliner. It would take about, for the speed of a jetliner, it would take about an hour and a half. Probably about an hour and a half to fly from New Guinea to there. Maybe even longer. I mean, that's got to at least be 500 miles. So it's going to take a minute for a plane to fly that far, right? That's how fast you would imagine a wave to spread out. However, seismic waves spread much faster, going through the crust, of course. And so this most likely is a disturbance from the seismic waves as opposed to an actual wave deformation of the surface, some kind of actual water wave that's spreading out. That buoying event mode, probably like this one down here, both caused by shaking. Now, really, this is the area that's, look, where the two buoys are shaking from the actual earthquake epicenters on both sides. What's right in the middle? What's right in the middle? Well, of course, our big earthquake, but our deep earthquakes that have been hammering in on the underside of the plate for the last several days. I mean, even the untrained eye should be able to see that this is a lot of deep earthquake activity raised off the globe. So on one side, we've got a deep 6.1 and a deep 5.5 raised high off the globe. On the other side, we've got a deep 6 and a bunch of deep 4s and 5s raised high off the globe. Now that sandwich point, that I call this a fulcrum point, but think of this like a two-arm scale analogy again, where we have weight on one side and weight on the other. The middle point where both arms of the scale meet is where the cumulative total of the weight goes. Does that make sense? Another way to look at this would just be in a child's term of just maybe on a seesaw or teeter-totter, where on one side you've got a heavy-weighted child and on the other side you've got a heavy-weighted child. The total combined weight of both heavy children are going to be going to that center point, and it could even break the board they're sitting on, depending on how heavy. If two adults sit on a child's teeter-totter, it's going to break at that fulcrum, or somewhere between the two. Two unevenly weighted people sitting on that can bounce back and forth. So you understand the principle on a schoolyard playground. This is applied over a vast distance. You could also apply this as a hinge point. A hinge point in the West Pacific. So if you're just now tuning in, we got the largest earthquake in years off the coast of Australia right down here, followed 4 hours or 3.5 hours later, now by a 7 point something striking up here at Halmahera, Indonesia. Now there's no wave that's been reported yet. Buoys are in event mode on both sides, down here and up here, but that's most likely just from the earthquake shaking itself, displacing the buoys that are tethered to the seafloor. Let's hope that's what it is. We do not want to see any kind of tsunami. Now, we're playing around with the potential of extremely large earthquake activity this week. We're not done yet. This is day 1 of a 10-day watch based upon the new deep earthquakes that are hammering in on the underside of the plate. Here's what I want you to imagine this as. Well, you know what? I can show this to you. Hold on one second. I can show you what I'm talking about. Let me get a video open here. Okay. And let's just make sure you'll be able to see this before we go any further. So what I think's happening with these deep earthquakes is underneath the plate, you see where our deep earthquakes are. So we have, again, 2 sets of deep earthquakes, a 6 and a set of 4s and 5s on one side, and a deep 6 and a set of 4s and 5s on the other. The hinge point is in between, where this is coming up shallow. So first pushing up on the underside, then coming up through the plate to the top. And a larger earthquake strikes at the top. Why is that? I think what's happening here is there's a force hammering in out of the magma, the liquid, and coming up into the solid of the plate, and it's a greater translation of force. So let me show you a experiment here. This is a circular wave tank, and it forces the waves in on itself. So watch this. As the waves get forced in on themselves, it forms a concentric standing wave. The standing wave can't compress into the liquid, and therefore it's hammered up in what's called a concentric wave singularity, or a spike. Now it's really just the combined total of all the wave focused in on a very fine point. Can't compress any more down into the fluid, and it goes boom, watch, and it hammers up. As it hammers up into the underside of the plate, then I believe something else starts to take place. I think that spreading through the, here, let me show this to you. Spreading through the faults, we get this. A standing wave starts to form, and instead of the waves interfering with each other, they combine. And they combine, the amplitude or the power increases, and the wave height begins to increase. Now, this is in a laboratory tank, but what I think is happening is this is VLF coming up through the plate boundaries. VLF itself, like radio waves almost, but generated from inside the core of the Earth. That's a long story. But the standing waves make note of this. Each standing wave fills in each other's middle point as it moves through the tank and back. See that? Let's back this out again. So, moving through the wave tank, going back and forth. And that's just the second part of this. So first, we hammer in on the underside of the plate with deep earthquakes. That's what you see here. Then, filling in the middle points, the combined total, the shallow or larger earthquake hammering in through the underside of the plate, then the spread of equal-sized earthquakes spreading out from those zones, like this standing wave in this laboratory tank here. First it gets small, then the waves start to build on each other. Next thing you know, amplitude increases, forced back into the system, bouncing through the faults, and it starts to increase. Same-sized earthquakes get dropped off along the way, then the wave moves, and it drops off a new earthquake in the middle fulcrum point between the previous wave. Now the third part on this is it transfers from zone to zone in what I think is called a soliton, or a solitary wave of translation, which gets a little complex. I can show it to you here at the end of the video here. This would be a good way to look at it. Watch this. Now this is in a liquid or a fluid, but I want you to imagine this as a big disturbance that comes up out of the magma, and it's hammering in on the underside of the plate, but rolling along on the underside of the plate through the faults, or through the plate boundary, dropping off earthquakes along the way. You get one of these, goes down to the end where it meets other earthquakes that are already moving, generating their own waves. Waves reflect off the other waves instead of amplitude increasing, of course, standing wave, and it bounces back, and it drops off the same-sized earthquakes all the way along the exact fault. Now, I think that's what's happening. I can't exactly prove that yet, but what we do know for certain is deep earthquakes are hammering in on the underside of the plate first, then we're seeing a translation up through the plate, and we get a shallower, larger earthquake at that middle fulcrum point again, which then, I mean, come on, there's only a few things that can generate VLF coming up out of the plates. We know this is happening at large earthquake locations. It's already been detected. Very low frequency and super low frequency coming up out of the plate boundaries. Gorka, Nepal earthquake over here in 2015, or the Japan megaquake in 2011. Two great examples of where VLF is detected coming up out of the plate boundary. But if it's coming up out of the plate boundary, it's really coming up out of the magma. And if VLF's coming up out of the magma, it's got to be coming up from a deeper source, because the standing waves in a VLF are several thousand kilometers long. Gee, what's several many thousands of kilometers down inside the Earth? That would be the core of the Earth, by the way. So the core would be generating VLF somehow that then emanates up through the magma, comes up to the underside of the plate, forms a standing wave, then drops off earthquakes along the way as it spreads out. And that's what's going on right now. So if you're just now tuning in, the largest earthquake to strike in Indonesia in a few months' time now has hit. Don't know about localized damage? Let's get back a look at the location. Hold on 1 second, guys. 1 second. Sorry, had a little sneeze there. Didn't want to sneeze into your ear. So here we are. We're back in Indonesia. We're east of the Molucca Sea. And the location in general, let's see if they've changed the coordinates at all. Sometimes this will be done as they refine the earthquake epicenter, or maybe they'll even refine the information further on the magnitude. Let's go put the coordinates in, see if they've changed it at all. I don't think they have. Nope, they're the exact same. So we don't have many towns nearby. The ones we do see are not well imaged, as you can tell. Very grainy image coming in on there. And going down along the seashore here, it doesn't look like there's too many huge populated towns, but yeah, there still are some nearby. The people there certainly felt it, and it was probably felt all the way over into western Papua New Guinea, and all the way over into Sulawesi, Indonesia. So several hundred miles around here felt this, and it is, well, double what we were just looking at down in Australia. So while this is a near 7, this one coming in now at 7.3 to the north, they're within 4 hours of each other. Big time movement in the West Pacific. This now makes 6 different events in the 6.9 to 7.0 range in the last 30 days. Again, 6.9 and greater in the last 30 days. This now makes 6 of them. And that's a lot. And 27 different 6.0 and greater earthquakes in the last 30 days. 27. Normally we see 12. So we're going through it. As I told you yesterday, this is going to be a busy rest of the month. And for California, well, the good news for you guys is force flowed out across the plate. It went from this to this. All of the United States got displaced on a 4.0 basis in a day yesterday, just as expected, 1 day after the warning was canceled. I knew I should have issued a 7-day watch for it. Whatever. Here we are. There it is. The 4s went across the plate all the way up to Quebec. I had to call out the professionals at the USGS publicly over on Twitter, which is just embarrassing. That is just embarrassing. I hate. Do you think I like having to do this? I mean, it is how I earn my credibility online with all my viewers and everything, is to, find that kind of stuff and call them out. But here I am calling them out, showing both earthquakes, saying, hey, here they are. Here's the earthquakes. Why aren't they showing it? And then ding, all of a sudden, there it is. But it's hours old when they're reporting 4s elsewhere around the planet. I mean, they really are. So it's no exaggeration. I mean, they really are reporting 4s on other parts of the planet, even smaller earthquakes. We've even seen them report 2s over here in Egypt and so forth. That's the USGS. So I'm not trying to dog them too hard, but I just have to show all my West Coast viewers, oh wait, a new 4.1 has just been filled in here at the halfway fulcrum point, south of California. Look at that. As I'm talking, it just got filled in. When did this hit? 6:59 UTC. Several hours ago. Just got populated on the feed now. Okay. Well, just got thrown on the feed now. Look at the stepping stone path of earthquakes going down the west coast of the United States down into Mexico. See that? All 4s, bing, boom, 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 equal distantly spaced. That's all of North America, Laurentia, down to Central America, getting displaced on a 4.0 basis, all the way over to Quebec in a day. That's a lot of movement. If you look at it that way, It really is a lot of movement going along the edge of the North American craton. We jump across the Pacific, and we're dealing with a round of new mid-range sevens. Low to mid-range sevens. Southern California is still swarming, but North America getting displaced is actually a good sign. It's a sign that force is going across the plate. Doesn't mean we're out of the woods yet. It's still swarming in Southern California, and I told you, there's a new push coming back around now. What more do you need to see? We're now dealing with a 7.3, which is the largest earthquake in months over in Indonesia, and we're dealing with the largest earthquake now in years down in I called it California earlier, and I almost just did it again, down here in Australia. They both end in IA, and I've been up for 2 days almost. So, for those of you who are just now tuning in, the largest earthquake to strike in many months' time in the West Pacific has now hit 7.3. 6.7 struck down here off the coast of Australia, and we're dealing with a deep earthquake event around the entire West Pacific at this point. I'd like to remind everybody, it's a good time to have an emergency plan and maybe to even dust off your emergency kits. Do you have an earthquake kit? Or just in general, do you have an emergency kit? Change of clothes, set of shoes, put a flashlight, batteries. Also a way to charge your mobile device. Extra set of car keys, man, or house keys too. That's something everybody fumbles for any time of the day. And if the power's out or if a large earthquake's hit and everything's disheveled, you're going to have a hard time finding them. So you might want to just have a copy of those things put into a bag and have the bag set out somewhere easily accessible in case you need to exit the structure or if you're going to shelter in place. You can also use the emergency kit for severe weather and flood and fire evacuations. Don't forget to put an extra ID in the insurance card and, again, the clothes and shoes. I would like to remind everybody to also set either a set of slippers or maybe a set of shoes by the side of your bed. God forbid the earthquake hits in the middle of the night and there's broken stuff across the floor, glass or whatever, and the power's out, it's dark, there's things shaking, you're trying to make your way to the door or wherever you're going to take shelter. Well, it would just help to have a set of shoes by the side of your bed, just something so basic that can make a big difference. So I'm just reminding you, you'll think of way better things. Food and water, a lot of people ask me about. I would go with the lightweight stuff, maybe a couple bottles of water to get you through a couple days, and lightweight food, so prepackaged, not all those meals ready to eat. That's long-term stuff. So I would go with, in mine, I've got granola bars and fruit roll-ups. I mean, just high energy. It's something I could quickly eat, a high sugar. I'm not going to be wanting to eat a steak or any kind of big meal in the first day or two of a disaster. I'd probably be working too hard, trying to either help other people or I'll be too stressed out to even take a bite. But that's what you do. You need to be prepared. Don't be scared. There is no reason to be scared anymore. I think we've pretty much proved it at this point. We can know down to a region, and we can know down within a magnitude, and we can know down to a week's time. Now, the odds on getting a location correct are just through the roof. So, I mean, just getting it down to 200 square kilometers on 200 million square miles on the planet. I mean, you guys can do the math. 200 million square miles divided by 200, that's 1 in a million chance just for the location. Just for a region down to 200. Then you add in the weeks, well, 1 in 52, that's the odds for that. And for a magnitude, it's 1 in 10. So you multiply them all together, 1 in a million, 1 in 52, and 1 in 10. You start to get into 1 in 520 million chances just to get a location, magnitude, and time frame within a week right. So that's the rough odds on that. And we just had 2 happen within the same 4-hour time period in the middle of our warned area. Which, again, our warned area from Java, here, this is Java, to East Timor. So warned area here, and then both earthquakes strike right in the middle on both sides of it. So when we warn Indonesia, I warn everywhere from around the S-shaped bend to the north that I just showed you over on Google Earth a few minutes ago. So if I warn here, we really warn everybody all the way around. They're all going to feel it. And God forbid that a tsunami ever gets generated, because then it spreads out across all these islands. That's why I warn everybody across a region. When I'm trying to get it down to 200 square miles inside that region, I warn everybody in the region, like in California this past week. We warned for both previous large earthquakes in California. We missed 1. We warned for 3. 2 of them hit. The third one hasn't hit yet. Instead, what happened? The entire North American craton just got displaced. Option 2. So option 2 was 4.0 earthquake spreading across 4 and 5s to spread across the plate and go up to Quebec, where I warned everybody in southeast Quebec to get their Molsons and put them into their emergency kits and get ready for that upper 3 to 4.0 earthquake. I was joking because it's just a upper 3 to 4.0 earthquake. So we can kind of joke around about that, right? Okay. And so when I warn the people in southeast Quebec, right down here, and I say, hey, get your Molsons, you're going to get an upper 3 to 4.0 earthquake, first one in God knows how long, many months, if not years, or at least a year, and then it hits. There it is. And this is from the USGS. We had to call them out, and then they put on the fee. Okay. Do you have an earthquake plan? One more time. If you don't, develop it. You've been reminded to. It's best I can do. I'm going to save this as a video over on YouTube. Time now, 5 a.m. Central Time. Been up all night drinking coffee. Looks like it's going to be a long day. Well, we're ready for it. This is go time, as we call it. And by the way, go time means watching the earthquake spread across an area. It means watching like you'd watch the weather. So, I mean, we've got the hurricane down here along the coast of Gulf right now, or, well, tropical storm. Everybody's watching it. You watch the trajectory for the storm, the plotted course that they put out for the forecast. Well, this flow that I just showed you going across the edge of the craton, or over in the West Pacific, this flow, well, it flows in a certain direction from one point to another. Now that you understand there's a flow that goes from the Northwest down to the Midwest, up to the East-Northeast in the United States, or if you're over here in Australia, now that you understand there's a force that flows from the Northwest over here to Ayers Rock in the middle of the edge of the craton in Australia and down to Perth and over all the way down next to Melbourne and over, Tasmania, I mean. And then we see activity spread up and across Indonesia. Longtime viewers already know this. New viewers, this just looks like a jumbled mess to you. I'm here to tell you it's fairly simple. The middle points get hit between our sets of current moving earthquakes. We start seeing a bunch of deep earthquakes down below the plate like this. That's why it's important to see the deep earthquakes, to actually visually identify them like this. Raised high off the globe, for instance, or some other way if they were blinking or something. But a way to identify the deep earthquakes and compare them to the other earthquakes. Because what you'll see is there's a leverage effect that's happening here. One set of smaller earthquakes is leading to a larger earthquake between the current sets of smaller earthquakes. And sometimes the larger earthquakes can be much larger, depending on how much leverage is put in on the underside of the plate. But that means there's leverage coming up out of the magma, which means there's a force or a power coming up out of the magma. And it's a standing wave of some kind. I think I proved that case to you. I think I'm proving that case. I haven't fully proved it yet. So word up and much love. Have a plan and be prepared. I'll be back if anything else goes down. Oh, wait. People telling me I need to get back on and check the buoys again. Let's go see. Okay. National Data Buoy Center. Sorry if you didn't see that previous segment right there. Having a little display capture issue. It happens sometimes, especially when I'm going fast. And let's click back on this. National Data Buoy Center. Let's hit refresh. There we go. Yeah, look at that. Well, 1, 2, 3 now. And if you include in the previous earthquake down here. Now, these are going to be in event mode for the next 24 hours, or maybe it's 12 hours. Several hours, these buoys remain blinking even after the event is technically over. Let's just go see what our wave event is going on down here in the Coral Sea. Well, wow. Let's see. Oh, whoa. Okay. Well, look at it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 again. Just like the other station on the other side of the entire country. So it's 5 distinct separate seismic events that are being detected here. The wave height, again, goes from 45, 95, 36 to... Well, it's the same. Wow. Almost the exact same. I mean, differential-wise. So between the one we just looked at... Here, let's go back and look at the other. This is the one that we looked at previously. So we go from 44 34.46 up to 5.2. Do you see that? Okay, so it's about the same. I don't even know how to describe that. It's about the same wave height on both sides. Now let's go up across over to the coast of Philippines. What's going on up here? Whoa. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.5, almost 6. So about the same number of waves. What's our differential on this? 58, 55, 72. It's different. It's actually higher. Okay, it looks like a good majority of this wave is actually, the seismic wave now on this is heading to the north. I mean, if I'm able to determine anything from this, this looks like it's a little bit more and a little bit more harsh, if you will. Compare this, how this is so close together and so jagged, if you will, and compare that to what we just looked at on the other stations down to the southeast, where it's more spread out. You see that? Well, it's still, again, a 5 wave height detection. Don't even know what to really call it, guys. A wave height detection? I'm not a tsunami expert. It's not like we have to report on tsunamis all the time. But what I'm noticing here is that on one side, it's spread out and more docile, and on the northern side, it's clustered. Again, those peaks were very close together and larger. So that would say to me that the seismic wave is traveling to the north more than it's traveling to the east or to the west right now. I mean, that's just a deduction. I might be wrong on that. It's okay to make a deduction and be wrong, but we don't normally have to deal with something like this. It's spreading out pretty fast. Again, this is spreading out faster than I would say a normal tsunami would spread out, which means, and it's going out much further in all directions, at least 3 directions, which would mean that's most likely the seismic wave itself. And those 5 separate detections, too, that's the 5 separate, breaks, if you will, that happened in the plate. This is amazing. This is really amazing to have this all happen and to be on live and take it all with you real time. Okay, there we go. Now you guys got to see it. It's amazing. We're going to save this as a video over on YouTube, and I'll be back on if anything else goes down. I'm going to be keeping watch over the next several hours. Will you please share my channel? Will you please share the information? Sorry, I didn't mean to push the microphone there. I would appreciate it if you'd share the information, first of all. That is that we're going through a major unrest event. I put it in the titles of my videos over the last 2 days. You can share this video when it's posted to YouTube, which should be in about 10 minutes. Or you can share the other 2 that I did over the last 24 hours. Warning for this. So here we are. It's now hit. I think we're going to still take another step up in the next few days. This is day 1 of a 10-day watch. Starting yesterday, 13. Here we are on the 14th. So we have till the 23rd. 9 more days to go. And we could go all the way up into the 8th level if we see more deep earthquakes. There's already 2 more on the map here in the last several hours. Leverage action. There's something going on underneath the West Pacific, obviously, that's then spreading out and causing new 7s all the way around the plate, including over in California and over here in the West Pacific. Europeans, you're not out of the woods either. This is going to spread out over towards Europe. I'll get into that in my next update. Let's try and do another update in about an hour, maybe an hour and a half. So I'm definitely not going to be going to sleep. I've been drinking too much coffee. And we'll be watching, waiting. You guys need to dust off your plans. California, don't let your guard down yet. Just in case. We'll be back if anything else goes down. Peace out, guys. Much love.